imagine? I mean, like we're on a beer tasting podcast, which involves sight, smell. If we want to do it right.
It involves your glory hole and the five
we
S's.
We all work in an industry that involves being aware of what we're doing on a visceral level. Could you imagine, even as a bartender, not having your sense of smell or taste?
Could you imagine, like, someone who I actually heard this happen to? I don't remember exactly who it was, but a guy who like owns a winery lost his sense of taste from this shit.
Could you?
How the fuck can you own a winery?
Well, and how think of the back. Like maybe this person worked their whole life because all they wanted to do was own a winery, and they got a winery, and they want to have that winery. And again, I'm not saying that's like I'm not comparing that to death, but I'm saying like a lot of that gets written off as like, oh, well, that sucks, and it's like, no, hold on. As someone who loves food, loves flavor, loves beer, wine, and spirits, if I permanently lost my sense of taste, that would be devastating for me. Might be the last
I could not imagine my life without flavor.
Without tasting things without smell is really important. I could not imagine being able to not smell how fresh the air is when you climb up into the trees versus being down in the city. If I lost that,
my biggest thing has always been, since I've been so music and sound oriented, is that I would rather go blind than deaf.
Absolutely, right. But I mean, but imagine like
because at this point in my life, almost 40 years in, like, yeah, there are some things I haven't seen yet, but at this point, I can grasp most of the concepts of what is being described to me and that I'm looking at.
Sure.
But not being able to hear things,
would be devastating.
Absolutely devastating.
But I mean, again, compare that to taste for anybody. We could say like compare that to a chef losing his taste. Same fucking thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but
absolutely.
Compare that to anybody just being able to. We're not talking about just like how great caviar from Osetra tastes versus the canned shit. We're talking about the ability to taste a juicy American fucking hamburger. Like that's what we're talking about. People losing. And again, I'm not comparing that to death, but I am saying that should not be written off as a.
No,
we're talking about
that shit sucks.
That shit must suck. We're talking about the ability to lose the ability to smell what spring flowers smell like.
Not ever knowing if you're ever going to smell it again in your life.
And I can tell you, like, from like a personal experience, like growing up in New Jersey for all of those years, and the first time I got off the plane here in Montana when I came out when Vinny and Rebecca got married, I was like, I can smell the air.
Yeah.
Like the actual, like the natural air.
And imagine if that memory alone, you didn't have that memory. You didn't have that ability to just walk up and be like, oh, you walked to the plane and it was like, so this is Montana, and there was no olfactory sense involved.
Yeah,
the sense of smell.
All it was like sight and sound. There was no smell involved. Right. Completely different.
And most people can't
experience.
Rationalize that because it's never happened to them, and it's an insane thing to think that there is no greater of the five senses that is tied into brain function than is smell.
No, the sense of smell is like one of the biggest.
Ties to memory?
Ties to
memory, yeah. Like, so even something like, my dad always, I remember the smell of a diesel bus, right? And for me too, that reminds me of skiing. Like, it's an awful smell. It's just chemicals getting burned, and most people don't like it, but every time I smell a diesel bus, I think of the buses that run to and from the mountain. And if suddenly I could never smell that again.
For me,
that's the smell of fresh cut grass reminding you of your childhood after your dad mowed the lawn.
Fresh cut grass after your dad mowed the lawn, or like when your parents were getting ready to go out and you could smell like your dad's cologne or perfume.
With it going out for a fancy night.
I think we already mentioned, but clean air, always when I'm hiking, when I'm ever hiking up at any kind of a few hundred feet above where I'm, just cleaner air, crisper air. Running water to me has a smell. I can usually smell running water almost about the same time I can hear it.
The smell of the ground after it rained for the first time in months.
For the first time, like for me, like you say, the smell of fresh running water.
Right.
Whether you're by like a creek or a stream or a river, for me, it's the sound.
Yeah.
It's like sitting by the ocean or sitting by like a creek bank and just like, I don't even have to smell or see anything. I just need to sit there and listen.
Yep. And again, but that's one of those things where you could argue you can both smell and hear running water. You can't both smell and hear oregano. You know, you can only smell oregano. So if you lose that, and again, I'm not discounting.
No.
Hearing.
But that's a great example.
As a guitar player, if I became deaf tomorrow, again, I'd be distraught. I wouldn't know what to do.
Never stopped Beethoven.
It didn't. He wasn't a guitar player though.
But see, that's.
I'm pretty sure he could have played a guitar if he wanted to.
He was only like the best orchestrator in classical music history.
Again, that's also, I would argue too, that there's a sixth sense there that those people are tapping.
And that's the point that I was going to bring up, is the difference with Beethoven and things like that. It's like you might not be able to hear it, but you can feel it. You can still, if you have your sense of touch and you can feel the way vibrations work together or against each other, you can write fucking incredible sonnets. Right. Which is exactly what Beethoven did.
Absolutely.
He sawed the legs off of his piano to put it on the floor so he could put his head against the floor to feel the vibrations.
Oh, yeah. I feel you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. Fresh baked cookies. If you could never smell those again in your life. Really? I mean, again, that's not death, but that blows.
But that's the point that I make, where I might not be able to smell fresh baked cookies, but with the experience that I've had, if someone told me at this point, if I've lost my sense of smell, or you watch someone pull a tray of fresh baked cookies out of the oven, your brain is so advanced that you can almost create that smell inside your head had you had smelled it in the past.
Copy.
You know what I mean? If you haven't smelled it in the past, sure, I totally agree with that. But if you've smelled it in the past and you watch someone pull a tray of cookies out of the oven, you can make your brain. Yeah, you can make your brain smell those things.
But the more you're forced to do that, the more and more distant it'll become, just like any game of telephone.
Of course.
So still, I'm not saying there's not that innate sense and wonder and willpower there, but I'm all just
having to even force yourself to do that.
Oh, hi, Gus.
Hey.
Well, and then there's the sense of taste thing. Could you imagine if that fresh baked, gooey, delicious chocolate chip cookie tasted exactly the same as a stalk of asparagus, tasted exactly the same as fresh cooked chicken? No difference. It would taste the same as your fucking beer does.
That's an even
because
better
there's no taste.
Analogy than what I was going for, and thank you, Josh, for doing it. Yeah, it's just it's the losing the. It's I guess someone who loves it's like losing the specialness of life and humanity. I mean,
variety is the spice of life.
Just when you think about sustenance, we're just not at the place where we can't say man, today I just want to have a burrito day. Mm-hmm. But what if the burrito tasted like everything fucking else? And it's no, I do that for the mole and the ancho chili and the rice and the cilantro, and then the next day I want ramen. And there's just that's some people might not never get that back. That idea that this looks different, tastes like chicken.